Women's Day to you. I'm joined today by my beautiful daughter, Zoe Sloster. And we just want to welcome you this afternoon to our online tea party. I hope you are enjoying your cup of tea. Someone once said that a woman is like a tea bag. You only know her strength once you pour the hot water on. So to all the strong women out there, keep on pressing on, keep on pushing through. And at this very moment, we want you to
sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love in our eyes. May now your love sweep this nation. Cause us, O Lord, to arise. Give us a fresh understanding, a brotherly love that is real. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love in our eyes. May now your love sweep this nation. Cause us, O Lord, to arise. Give us a fresh understanding of brotherly love that is real. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love. Give us a fresh understanding of brotherly love that is real. Let there be love shared among us. Let there be love.
The piercing arrows from their eyes were blinding. As I buried my face in her chest, as a toddler to a mother's breast, there was no milk left, but it was comforting and reassuring that I was going to be all right. She wasn't even my biological mother, but she was the only mother I knew. I couldn't stay here any longer. I just knew I had to live with her. She couldn't understand as much as they couldn't understand why I would give up my right as a Moabite when it felt wrong leaving her, not even going back to my own mother. Yes, I lost my husband, but I still had my mother-in-law. Having her was everything to me. I couldn't leave her alone as my sister-in-law did, so I clung to her like it was against the law. I cried out, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. Yes, I know the way would be hard. I would be a pagan. But wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Buried in a tomb. The same Jesus that I carried in my womb rose on the third day and nullified death's kiss. Kiss. You may kiss the bride. I was an unworthy bride. Hosea was perfect, yet I cheated on him so many times. Yet he wanted me, and he knew I would continue to do so even if we marry. I was a prostitute, a whore. Why would anyone want to marry someone who would fail to be faithful? Faithful. Even though I was one of the two wives my husband had, I was faithful to him. I couldn't bore him any children. His other wife constantly mocked me and provoked me because I was despised as not being woman enough. All I did was weep and starve myself. I prayed so fervently that no sound came out of my mouth, but my heart was full. So I mumbled in silence that I was called drunk. Drunk. That's how I felt. From all the negative words thrown at me, that it started to consume me, but I continued to pray for a son, and God heard my cry. If more mothers could pray as I, we would have more Samuels. Emmanuel, God is with us. He was always with us. Dust, how he created my husband. I was made from my husband's rib, ripped out of him, yet I couldn't obey him and shifted blame. Serpent fooled me, but I should have known better and known that God ruled him. God saw my heart and not my body, that I called naked, that I tried to clothe myself with things around me, but he still saw my heart naked because my eyes were no longer clothed with him. Oh woman, oh naked woman, he sees beyond that scars and stretch marks that your body once suffered with intense labor pains and gave birth from your once barren womb. Shout for joy, O barren one, you who have borne no child. Break forth into joyful shouting and cry aloud, you who have not travailed. Veil has been torn. You have free access in to his presence. Your true kinsmen await you in the harvest that is plentiful. God has seen your faithfulness when you saw your unfaithfulness. God has seen your love when others saw your sin. He has prepared your husband when you thought there shall be no more. He has called you wife when your past screamed whore. He has called you child and daughter even when your mother-in-law was your only mother. You are called helper even when it seems you are the only one working, because you are chosen and bold and called for a time such as this. O daughter of Zion, arise, awake, for your time has come. O daughter of Zion, arise, awake, for your time has come.
On behalf of the Calvary Sanctuary Women's Fellowship, we'd like to honor a phenomenal woman in the person of Reverend Esme Bowers, also known as Sister Esme, Auntie Esme, or just Esme. When you meet Sister Esme for the first time, you meet a down-to-earth woman who is willing to do anything to get the job done. We are inspired by her support to her husband, Pastor Bowers, her evident love for her granddaughter Daniela, her daughter Nadine, and her son-in-law Andres. She is definitely the matriarch of the Bowers household. She is passionately driven by purpose to extend the kingdom of God. Her energy and level of excellence is admired and contagious. In her almost 50 years of ministry, she has empowered and impacted countless lives. God has graced her to sit on many boards of prestigious organizations. Currently, she is the chairperson of the Evangelical Alliance of South Africa. She is also an executive member of the South African Council of Churches and serves on the senior leadership team of the World Evangelical Alliance. This is but the tip of the iceberg of the many roles and functions Esme Bowers has filled. As a ministry and the church at large, we salute you, Esme, and honor you for the enormous contribution you have made to God's kingdom and to all of our lives. We hope to see a biography written of all Esme Bowers' endeavors very soon. I know many women will be empowered by it to dream big and go further than they ever thought they could.
The Bible, when you read it, it transforms your life. The Spirit of the Lord gets hold of it and does something deep within your life. Don't think you're just reading a few words. It's transforming. And when you read it, say, God, how are you changing me?
Welcome all our viewers this afternoon to this wonderful interview. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Reverend Jenny Clayton. I met her many years ago while also working in prison, and it was wonderful to observe what she does, hence me arranging this interview today, and I know that you too will be blessed by this interview. So, Reverend Jenny, tell us a bit about your family.
Okay, let me first say good afternoon to all the viewers, all our women, and a happy Women's Day to all you special women. Yes, family, that's very close to my heart. I have one husband, that's Pastor Jonathan Clayton, and I have two biological daughters, and as you can see, there's the picture. My eldest daughter is Amy, she's a teacher, and the youngest daughter is Cara, she's a final year law student. And then we have Shireen that we've taken into our family, and she's been part of our family for the past probably 16, 17 years already. And then the latest addition to our family is little Joshua, and he is now 20 months, and he's been with us for the past more than a year now that he's been with us. And so this is my family.
Wonderful. Pastor Jenny, share with us, what do you do in ministry?
Okay, so my husband and myself, we are both Baptist ministers, but then we also are the executive directors and founders of Hope Prison Ministry. And that is our full-time ministry, where we do prison chaplaincy.
Okay. You do work in the women's section of the prison?
Yes, I work predominantly with the women. I also do some stuff with the men when I go and minister or do some teachings, but my main ministry is to the women behind bars.
Wow. And that is not an easy ministry, not at all. I've experienced it firsthand. So, with your experience, Pastor Jenny, what do you say is the main reason why these very precious women end up behind or land up behind bars?
Okay, so just before I answer that question, just to give you a little scope of the overall ministry, we have a fivefold ministry. So it is to our men and women and young people behind bars. Then it's also to our released folk, our ex-offenders or formerly incarcerated ones. And then it is to our correctional officers, to victims of crime, and to all the related families. That is our fivefold ministry that we have.
Okay.
And yeah, to your question earlier of what do we do, my ministry involves evangelism, is a big part of our ministry. It would be services, different churches coming in, services that we have, Bible study, creative arts, floral arranging is what we also have for the ladies that might not come to church, but they'll come to a floral arranging course, and there they can be exposed to the Word of God and to love as well. And then a big part of our ministry is restorative justice. As you can see, restorative justice is a different kind of justice where our current justice system is very much on punishment. Restorative justice says that punishment alone does not deter crime. You have to also work with the individual to be restored. That is the core word in this, is restoring the person and restoring relationships. And that is what we do a lot of work in, is the restorative justice. And I say that to come back now to your question of why do women end up doing crime and landing up in prison. And so if one look at it and you say, okay, it's because people will say, and you can say it's because they're greedy, it's because people are on drugs, it's because of people are aggressive and violent. And yes, that is all, that's all symptoms. And that is, but some causes. But if you go further into their lives, and when we sit with them, you realize that there are roots. It's almost like there's roots, and these things that I just mentioned was sort of fruit or branches growing out of roots. And the roots that we find in a lot of these people that we work with, and I want to always say they were all born, they were not born criminals. They were also born to mothers who thought this is a beautiful child, or and so when you look back in their history, you will very often find emotional poverty, and I'll come back to say what that means, spiritual poverty, and intellectual poverty, where there's a lack of education, and it's often people think, oh, it's because they were poor, but financial poverty is not the main cause for people ending up in prison. Because there's a lot of poor people that does not steal, So it is more the emotional poverty is a big one. Because a lot of these people have been emotionally wounded. Absent fathers is a big thing. When we do teachings on the fatherhood, you will see them breaking down and crying. Some of them don't even know what their father looked like. Many of them, their father left them when they were very young, or for many of them before they were born. A girl told me the other day, I only got to know my father when I was 16 years old, and I only saw him 3 times in my life. Another girl told me the other day, I saw my father for the first time in his coffin when I went to his funeral, and I was then 21 years old. And so this absent father, and then also many times it is dysfunctional mothers or inadequate mothers, and not inadequate because they don't care or they're not there, but many of these mothers have been so hurt by the fathers of these children. The mothers were rejected, sometimes when they were still carrying this child. So these children are raised by angry mothers.
Sure.
And by mothers that is trying to make a life and provide for this child on their own, so they're working more, or they leave the child with their mothers or with someone else and they carry on with their lives. So many times we work with people who didn't grow up with their mother and their father. So there's huge rejection issues in their lives. And a lot of our women were abused. Many women. And for several of them, when we work with them, it's the first time that they take the plaster off that wound. And so many of these women were verbally abused, physically abused, and many were sexually abused. And you see, with all of this background, it just cripples and damages and distorts your identity, your self-esteem. And so for many of them, they ended up submitting to peer pressure, choosing wrong friends, because they don't know better. They've got such a low self-esteem that when they experience a little bit of attention or a little bit of love, they submit to that. And often it's coming from wrong people. And so it is in this, with these wounded women. And so what we find is we're not working so much just, the community will say it's evil people. When we work with them, we discover it's wounded people, because hurting people hurts people. And that is the reality of the people that we work with.
Wow. And because generally the community would say, just lock the door and throw away the key. Because they themselves have been affected by this kinds of crime. But as you explain it now, it's so much deeper than just the crime. There's so much roots and woundedness that needs to be dealt with. And when we look at the person in that light, we see it so differently.
Yes. But you're touching on something very important. We are so aware that we have many people that are hurting as a result of crime. And we want to say that we are extremely sensitive to victims. We don't take lightly what victims have gone through. And it's for that very reason that we want to work with these perpetrators of crime, with these offenders, because if nobody is going to work with them, the chances are they're going to come out and do the same thing and hurt more people. And so we have seen, and we thank God that with the intervention and with God, change is possible. And so it is because of our sensitivity to the pain of victims. And in working with victims, we do also bring victims in so that victims can come and share with the offender what the crime did to them. What they experienced, what they felt, what they need, what their needs are as a result of the crime. So we have experienced even many victims finding healing as a result of the ministry as well. So we are extremely sensitive to what victims go through as well.
That has been so interesting to hear, Pastor Jenny. It just gives us greater insight of what really is going on in prison. And I was very privileged to be part of a restorative justice initiative in the women's prison in Paulsmoor. And what an experience, you know, just to see how these broken, bruised women, how this program has revolutionized them, and like you said, even helped the victims. And that's important, you know, because I think many of us have already been victims of crime.
Yeah.
And seeing the healing process between the perpetrator and the victim, that is just a wonderful sight. It just brings tears to your eyes witnessing that.
Yes.
So tell us more about that program and how the love, the concern that you show for these ladies, how it transforms them completely.
Okay. You know, 2 Corinthians 5 says that God has given us the ministry and message of reconciliation. And with this restorative justice, we see that taking place, how God reconciles these wounded people to himself and then reconcile them also man to man. And you know, this restorative justice for us has become such a tool that God uses very powerfully, because it's okay to say, okay, they're saved and we can leave them. But so many people are saved, but they are, and certainly the people that we work with, they are still hurting. They cannot make sense of the gospel and of a loving God with what they've been through. And many of them are carrying so much guilt that one lady said to me, I don't want to get rid of this guilt. I almost don't want God to forgive me because I deserve this guilt. I deserve to carry it for what I did. And so it is in that you need to take the love of Jesus. And so with restorative justice, you know, it deals, once you're saved, you know, that is just guaranteeing a place for eternity. But you still need to live on earth. And Jesus didn't only come to give you eternal life. He came to give you abundant life.
Amen.
And so we see that as we deal with the wounds of people, and so before you can restore something, you need to see what is broken. And that is what we do with restorative justice. We say, come, share with us what went wrong in your life. From the crib to the crime. Let's look at where things went wrong. And so we deal with that. And when you deal with that, you can just see how it melts down any hardness that people may, and evil that people may have seen before. When you deal with it with the love of God, you see how it melts the hearts of people from evil to, as the word says, from hearts of stone to hearts of flesh. And so that is when we see the tears rolling. That is where we can minister Jesus into that brokenness. That is where we can minister the power of the cross. That the cross, the death of Jesus was not only for their sin and for their shame, it was also for their pain. And once they find healing of their pain, it's like God turns their pain into power. And so we have several ladies working with us today. That's part of our team, that's mentors now on our restorative justice, that used to be offenders, and we call them now clients. That used to be clients on our restorative justice, and they're now part of our workforce, of our team, because God healed them. And they can now, where they used to put themselves down, where they used to hurt before, they can be part of healing now. Where they used to be the problem before, they can now be part of the solution, because God healed them. And once you find healing, you can find deliverance. You know, it's one thing to be saved, but you can still carry all that baggage and all that bad behavior, if you want to call it, which is coming out of your hurt. Not only those in prison, even those in our churches. You know, people wonder, hoekom raak die broer so kwaad? Why? This is a deacon. Why is he getting so angry? And then we don't realize that our actions and our behavior is stimulated by the feelings which comes out of our experiences of the past. And so we have to go back and deal with people. What did you experience? Where in your life did you get hurt? Because anger is only the fruit of hurt that is at the core of it. And so that is sort of when we say restore, restorative justice, then it says who needs to be restored? It is the offender, it is the victim that needs to be restored, and the community. Once these two are restored, it will bring a balance also to the community. And so that is, you know, we love this, because we see how people find healing and how they get delivered and how they just get transformed by the power of Jesus and the cross as we work with them. And so we thank God, you know, for that work in restorative justice. And we see victims saying, some of them will come in and say, one victim came and said to the offender, I will never forgive you. You know, one victim threw the ID of her son across the table, and it was stamped with deceased. She said, this is what you left me. And she said, I will never forgive you. But by the end of that session, you see, because the offender said, you know, I didn't come for forgiveness. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I came for you to share with me what you've been through, what I caused, and ask me any questions that you might have. And so at the end of that session, the victim said, I'm going to ask God to help me to forgive you. And so we've had many, many sessions where victims at the end, they would say, I feel so much better. And so it's important for us, because the victim sharing is what we want the offender to understand, is that crime damages relationship. Crime damages people. Crime causes loss. And so it is important for us to teach our offenders the impact of crime, and victims help us to just come and really reinforce that when they come and share what they experience. So we really thank God, because we see God healing people and transforming them as they are restored through this process.
I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, because I'm just sitting here and just absorbing everything. This is so powerful. It's so enlightening, because we're living in a country that's ridden with crime. You drive past prisons and you don't even look that way. You don't even think about what is being said here today. And just listening to this has just opened my understanding more about what is truly happening in our prisons, who is in our prisons, and how badly hurt they are, and how this ministry and how the love of God can transform people's lives. Truly, nothing is impossible with God.
Amen.
You know, the love of God can do and change anybody and everybody. So we thank God for Hope Prison Ministry and all the other prison ministries that go daily into our prisons and give hope to families. Thank you, Pastor Jenny, for just enlightening us and opening our understanding to something that might have not been exposed to us as it should have been. So once the women come out of prison, what then? Because I know that is a big issue. People come out, they have this whole new lease on life, and they go back into those situations. So what do you do in that case?
Yeah, that is a very challenging part of the ministry. Aftercare. It is a lot more challenging than even working with them behind bars. Many of them go back to the circumstances that perpetrated their crime. You know, I have a lady that told me just a few weeks ago, she must go back home, but it's to the same home where she was sexually abused. And so you have many of them coming. You know, I went home to the other lady's home, and where she is, it's a 1-bedroom home, and the amount of people that came streaming out that lives there, all the sisters and their children and the mother, and it's 1 bedroom, and it's on the corner where the 28 gangster den is, and drug lords on the other corner. You know, and it's to these circumstances that they have to go, and I wished I could take her away there, but I can't, because she needs to go and be with her mother, who was looking after her children and her grandchildren. She needs to go and be with her children. I cannot take her away from that place. And yet I feel like I'm throwing her to the back, you know. And so it is challenging. What we do is we have a once a month support group for our ex-offenders. We also have a open line where they can contact us. During this lockdown now, we've been giving out food parcels to our ex-offenders and their families. And then we have a project called Hands of Hope. It's a sewing project where it's open for our ex-offenders to come and work in that project and earn something. You know, they first come in as a trainee and they get trained. We've got an excellent project manager, and they get well trained, and we make cooler bags. We've made it for different places. Our last order was for RMB, where we the Rand Merchant Bank, where we made cooler bags for them, and so they then can earn a living. And we have the project is running now for about 7.5, going on 8 years, and we have ladies that has been in the project since the inception, and they're still working, and they've never gone back to prison. And of these ladies are ladies that had a life sentence, that were in for murder, that were in for various crimes, and now they're living functionally, they're working now, they are serving their families as a mother, and they have an income. You know, and part of our process, even with restorative justice and with this, is restoring dignity, you know, to these women. Because if you don't have a sense of worth, you just feel like you can just throw yourself away. You know, what's the worth? I might as well just give it all and do what I want to do. But restoring dignity for them to see, wow, look what I made. Did I really make this beautiful thing, you know? And look at me now, you know. We literally see, even in prison, they change. You see the physical change on their faces, sort of from darkness, you see the light, you see them smile, they start coming with makeup and start making themselves beautiful, you know, and you think, wow, look at you, you know. And so this is what God does, you know. It's just amazing to see. And so in the project Hands of Hope, that is sort of also just a way of us helping our women, and we have men working in our project.
Wow.
To just further empower them, to encourage them, to support them, because they have devotions every morning as well.
Wow.
And so, so that is what we are doing for our ex-offenders.
So the aftercare is a real great need, and this is where I come to my next question. Many people ask, how can we assist? How can we help? Besides obviously praying, praying for our prisons, praying for those who are incarcerated, putting that also on our prayer list. How else can we as a ministry, as a church, as the global church, the church at large, how can we assist, let's say, Hope Prison Ministry to become more effective aftercare or even in prison? There's so many people who are sitting at home that wants to do something for God, and this could be one way that they can help. So how can we help?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. And let me say, before I respond to that, thank you for even just being interested to do this interview, because many people, and we understand it's because they're tired of crime, just lock them up and throw the key away. And so in responding to your question, yes, prayer is very important. We would value your prayers. And speaking about prayers, we have a once a month prayer walk. So every first Thursday of the month, we pray through one of our prisons at Paulsmoor, and we've done it at other centers, a few other just. And so, so you are welcome to be part of that as a church. If you have a few people that want to join us at 7 o'clock on the first Thursday of the month, we have about 29 different churches that join us, and we often in the region of between 200 250 people praying through the prisons. And so you are so welcome. If there's people that would love to join our prayer walks, they're welcome to join us. We just can go through the administrative process with you.
Of course.
But then also, people that would like to support financially, they can do that. And it's not the huge amounts that keep us going. We have faith-based ministry, and it's really people that give faithfully. There's, sometimes people that can give that 50 Rand a month. And that is a blessing, to the ministry. And then a big way also how your church is very close to, we have a charity shop that supports the ministry. It's called Hidden Treasure. And so that is where you can take anything that is in your home that you haven't used for a year or two. You can dump it there, and we say just not false teeth and a cigarette stumpy. That's all. Otherwise, you can take anything. Even if it's a chip plate or whatever, there's someone else that needs it. And so we've got the charity shop. It's on the main road in Plumstead. And so people can take things there. And then we need volunteers at the shop even. And so that can just do 4 hours. A morning, 4 hours in the morning or 4 hours in the afternoon on a day that they choose. At the moment we need on a Wednesday and a Friday morning, we need a volunteer. And then, that is something we would appreciate help. And then also people that want to come and serve with us in the prison as volunteers. And they must be able to be volunteers, to be able to support themselves in the sense of getting to the prison. Or if they raise support, if they want to work with us and they want us to give a letter where they can raise support to be able to be a volunteer in the ministry. So people that want to be part of the restorative justice, you don't need to be trained out there. We will equip you. We will help you. And we say in prison ministry, the two things you need most is to be able to listen and to love. If you can love and listen, you can do prison ministry. And so, and then in any of the other ministries that we're doing, the flower ministry, we need someone at the moment to step in because there's someone that cannot continue due to illness in our floral arranging ministry. And basically whatever you can do, whatever God has gifted you with, it can be used. And so the ministry has grown to where it is today because of God sending people in with whatever their gifting is. And so, people can contact us if they're interested in that. And then maybe just another, our ex-offenders and our family of offenders, they are in our communities. And maybe you don't want to come into the prison, but you might want to visit a mother whose child is behind bars and just encourage them. Families of offenders, it is such a shame factor. And so just to be able to go to them and pray with them will be so encouraging for them because they are criticized. They are condemned for the deeds of their children or the deeds of their husband or whoever, or the deeds of their mothers that are behind bars. And so that is another avenue. And then maybe I'll just do one more. It's the children of our ladies behind bars. We have a Hope for Kids department where we work with the children of our women. And many of these children, their mother is in prison and their father is off somewhere else. And so these children also stand a chance of becoming totally dysfunctional. And so to be able to work with them, and I'll give you one nice thing that you can do if lockdown is over or even if it's not. But every Christmas we do a Christmas party for the children of our ladies behind bars. That's on our restorative justice. And so your ladies might want to be part of that by making a gift, making up a gift, a shoebox or whatever gift. And we can give you names and ages of the children. You can pray for them and provide a gift for a child. And we give that gift to the mothers so that when we have the Christmas restoration program, the mothers then give it to the children from them. And some of these children, they cry when they get the gift because that is the only gift that they'll get. That is the only Christmas they'll have with mommy. So we make it special. We have a Christmas tree. We have a Christmas meal for them so that they can at least, mommy's not going to be there on Christmas Day, but that will be their Christmas. And so that is something that would be special to get, where you as a ladies group can be part of as well, and as a church, can be part of that.
I know your heart must be moved by this because my heart is being moved by it. Just to see the need out there and to see how you can be part of this is just amazing. So as God speaks to you, let Him move you to action. Whatever He has spoken to your heart through Pastor Jenny, let it be moved by action, because people's lives can be changed by our love. And that is what God is all about. God is love, and He wants His love to radiate through our lives. I want to just take this opportunity to thank you, Pastor Jenny, just for your time, for your availability, for exposing us to something that we may not have been exposed to, and for opening up our minds to something so beautiful that you guys are doing. Thank you so much for your time. Calvary Sanctuary Ladies appreciates this time, and I know these are amazing women, and I know they are going to do something for sure in conjunction with Hope Prison Ministry. So God bless you, and may God continue to bless your ministry and everything that you are doing. Thank you so very much. And I hope you are enjoying your coffee and your tea with us on this beautiful Women's Day as we continue with our program. God bless you, Pastor Jenny.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure being with you, Zatania. And thank you, ladies, for listening. And just in case you're scared and thinking, I can never go to prison, I just want to say, if you come with love, your theme is changed by love. Nobody fights with someone that loves them and that cares about them. We've never experienced anybody wanting to hurt us because we go with God's love. God bless you.
Amen.
1 Corinthians 13 verses 1 to 2.
Love is
Patient.
Love is kind.
Love does not envy.
Love does not boast. Love is not.
Hello everybody. Love does not dishonor others. Love is not self-seeking.
Love is not easily angered.
Love keeps no record of wrongs.
Love does not delight in evil but rejoices in the
Truth.
Love always protects.
Love always trusts.
Love always hopes.
Love perseveres. Love never fails.